Welcome to the Emisarios Unidos de Luz channel. If you enjoy this near-death experience story, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. Now let's start with the story. After graduating from high school, I married my high school sweetheart and enlisted in the army, only to receive a letter from my new wife soon after, informing me that it was over between us. After receiving the news, I spiraled into a state of depression, making it difficult for me to focus and maintain the motivation to keep up with my daily routine. As my world crumbled, I declined to continue with the physical training, leading to my release from the army contract after a few weeks. Living at home again, I found work in a factory that didn't pay much but kept me busy. However, after work, I could usually be found in a bar, drinking myself into a drunken stupor. Several months later, I decided one night to drive to the beach to watch the waves while I drank, with a plan to drown myself in my state of inebriation. Once dead, I imagined that my ex-wife would lament her decision to break up with me when she received the news of my death, thereby assuaging, albeit morbidly, my wounded heart. Once in the water, I swam far from the shore before changing my mind about my plan and deciding to swim back. However, in my drunk and exhausted state, I began to sink underwater and asphyxiate from the lack of oxygen. At first, my lungs felt as if they were on fire, but suddenly, all the agony ceased as I watched my body sink from my position above it. As I watched my body sink to the bottom of the ocean, I felt light and unencumbered for the first time in a long while, free from the concerns and heartbreak I had been experiencing. Suddenly, an extremely bright light, the presence of which I sensed as warm and loving, appeared behind me. As it drew near, I realized that inside the light was, in fact, a being of light or an angel, instructing me via telepathy to follow her. As the angel and I entered the light, I felt a profound calm, unlike any I had ever experienced, suddenly wash over me, and I realized at that moment that I was indeed dead. The angel beckoned that I should immediately leave with her, as there was so much that she wanted to show me. The angel then took me by the hand, and we began a rapid descent through a dark tunnel that seemed to widen as we traveled. As we plummeted ever deeper into the eerie abyss, I heard the most horrifying screams, like an orchestra of countless tormented souls shrieking in agony. Just as I grew concerned that we would spend an eternity falling in that seemingly bottomless pit, the tunnel suddenly opened into an immense molten chasm, where a multitude of souls endured an eternity of searing torture. In that horrifying scene, I watched as the heat rent their flesh, only for it to be replaced by new skin so the agony could continue. You are here only to bear witness to the reality of hell. As long as I am with you, you will not be harmed, the angel explained. Scared out of my wits, I looked ahead and saw black, shadow-like creatures whose menacing means revealed their desire to attack me. As they approached, their horrible and overwhelming odor and ghastly appearance filled me with dread, foreboding, and an urgent impetus to escape. Despite the angel's reassurances, I was unable to master myself, and in my state of panic, I begged the angel to take me away from that place. Sympathetic to my plight, the angel granted my request, and we departed from that gorge of suffering and despair, ascending towards the light as rapidly as we had descended. There are consequences to your actions on earth. Hell is the consequence of the path you are currently on, but it is only one of the paths you may choose. Now I will show you another path you may choose, the angel explained. The angel grasped my hand again, and this time we ascended to the gates of heaven. Nobody can enter who is not supposed to be here. Go ahead and try, she said. To test her hypothesis, I floated towards the gates but was stopped a few feet before them by an unseen force. The gates know who to stop and who to permit entry, the angel said as she chuckled. If I'm not permitted to enter, why are we here? I asked. We are here because there are people here who wish to see you, the angel explained. After what may have been minutes or hours, a group of people, few of whom I recognized, began to approach me. Among those people were my grandparents, whom I last remember visiting when I was 7 or 8 years old, yet, there in heaven, they appeared much younger and much happier than I remembered. My grandparents hugged me, as did one of my uncles and 2 of my cousins who were with them, and in their loving embrace, I experienced once again the amazing love I felt when I was first enshrouded by the light. We then made small talk, mostly them telling me how happy they were to see me and that they couldn't wait for me to return to stay with them in heaven. There, with my relatives in heaven, I was wonderfully jubilant, and I wanted to remain with them, even if I wasn't permitted to pass through the gates. We have to leave now, the angel advised. Disappointed, I said goodbye to my family and took the angel's hand again. You have seen what awaits you no matter what path you choose, and it is now up to you. Only you can face your earthly problems, and only you can choose your fate. Heaven and hell both await you. Go back and decide which path to walk, the angel said. The next thing I knew, I was out of the water and walking on the shore of the beach. At first, I tried to dismiss my experience, telling myself that it was just a dream. As time went on, however, the memory of that experience became as palpable and as vivid to me as when I experienced the NDE. It has now been almost a decade since I had that experience, yet it remains fresh in my memory in every aspect and detail. I don't drink alcohol anymore, except on special occasions. I married again 4 years ago, and I now have a 2-year-old son. I attend church regularly and strive daily to walk the right path, as I intend to be allowed to pass through the gates the next time I stand before them. I have shared my NDE with my family and friends, and, as you might expect, they relegate my experience to the realm of fantasy. The Lord works in mysterious ways, my pastor said when I gave him an account of my NDE. So far, however, nobody has called me crazy.